panels, I'll frame the debate like this. Opening oppositions kept on questioning on the justifications on why state has the right to take away someone's money. And we do understand that because the opening government doesn't even mention about why it is justified, and we are the only teams that can provide and bring the analysis here. But before going to my arguments, I have three battles on the main point that matters from the opening oppositions that stated about the technology and human error that might happen here. So here they are talking about the legitimacy of our law enforcement on how they verdict whether the corruptors are wrong or not. Meaning it could translate it into the KPK is not legitimate enough on doing their job. Here we provide two reasons on why our institutions are legitimate. First is that we think that their body of institutions are eligible enough to work on their field because they have their meritocracy. And then second, even if that's the case, knowing that the impact that are going to be given to the suspect under our house, it creates a necessity to empower the law enforcement. Empower that we're talking here is about the reshuffle and upgrading skills and also upgrading their system. And going to the justifications on why it is justified to freeze the corruptors' money is that, first, as the closing government, we do think that the opening government didn't even give enough justifications on why it has the right to freeze the corruptors' money. So us as the closing government will provide you with a few reasons on why it is justified. First reason on why it is justified is because freezing their money is our only way to cut off the corruptors' movement. And take this as an example. We jailed a killer so that we can control their movement because their physical body are what harms the society. And meanwhile, corruptors, their movement can be seen by their crime that lies on the power of their financial capacity. Corruption is a case that is very complex. It cannot be done by one particular person, but require a lot of dirty, filthy hands to help with. And that's why it takes the corruptors' money to bribe and shut them out in order for the corruptors to hide as long as possible to not be caught up. And it shows you that the power of money exists. And that's why we do think that in our side of the house, the law justice system has the right to freeze their power which comes from money itself, ladies and gentlemen. And also, we do understand that the purpose of rehabilitation is supposed to make the suspect realize their mistake, and the jail are supposed to make them suffer the pain. And what we are expecting from the rehabilitations and from jail is that when people came out from the jail, they will be aware that they did some mistakes and do some wrongs and realizing it from how hard life is inside the jail. But the problem is here with people who have the money, the function of jail is not fully there if we didn't freeze their money, because they still have the ability to renovate their cells to be a 5-star hotel if they still get the hand of the corrupted money itself, ladies and gentlemen. Like for example, Setia Novanto and Gayus Tambunan, who renovate their cells into a better place for them to sleep, to make their cells still comfortable for them to sleep in. And so as the closing government, we do believe that jail without freezing their source of movement, which as money, will fail to achieve the purpose of jail itself, ladies and gentlemen. And also, even though they are concede that jail is very powerful to make the people realize the mistake and saying that there's no chance of manipulations, jail is still gonna exist on our side of the house, ladies and gentlemen. So their benefit is not exclusive, and any kind of benefit of jail that is still gonna happen on our side of the house, ladies and gentlemen. And going to the benefits that are going to achieve here in these motions in our side of the house is that, first, on how the society will perceive the state now that they get a better sense of retributions. And the factual conditions on today's society is that our society are very skeptical when it comes to politics and the solving of the corruption crimes. And we can see by how our society react towards how the government are handling corruption cases. And society thinks that the idea of jail and rehabilitations are somehow not enough, because either way, at the end of the day, those corruptors can still live a wealthy and happy life. And as the government side of the house, we do believe that in order to gain our society trust, we need to uphold the justice towards them. And we all know that the money that are being corrupted by those corruptors are coming from our society money that are hoping for the idea of retributions from the government. And here we do, and why is it necessary to gain our society trust? It is necessary to gain our society trust is that, First, by gaining our society trust, it will give us the feedback at the end of the day that can be seen by our society while campaigning about the corruptions. Because siding with the government agenda is a very promising, because society now can feel satisfied to see that immoral corruptors can be to be poor, ladies and gentlemen, and it is translated into society has the demand to vote a good politicians who's most likely not to do corruptions. And that's why political party are going to select politicians who are going to fulfill the satisfaction of our society. And these satisfactions will later on lead to the demolishment of corruptors at the end of the day. Society nowadays has already been normalized with the idea of corruptions because of how irresponsible the government is on handling such cases. And this is the start where we can change the stigma on how corruption is not something normal, which is by being on our society side and giving them the retributions that they deserve from those corruption money, and it will slowly create a healthy politics environment that are far from the corruption, ladies and gentlemen. And so, in these motions that this house with impoverished corruptors as the closing governments, we already provide a few stakeholders that are included here, and also the arguments that are supporting our cases, such as this is the only way for us to cut off their movement, and also we will gain our society trust again, that we will show that the governments are on our society side, and also we already gave you the justifications on why our arguments on why we want to freeze their corruptors' money is justifiable. And I beg to propose this motion. Thank you.